The month of May was great because I picked up 12 new fragrances and they're pretty much all bangers, so stay tuned. Hey, what's good guys? Hunter here and welcome back to the channel where I upload weekly fragrance content, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future videos, and be sure to follow me over on my Instagram page for some behind the scenes content and more personal stuff as well. But today guys, the month of May is over. It's been a long month, but whoa, it's been one of the best months for fragrances, at least for me, because I got so many great new stuff that I cannot wait to share with you guys and talk about and put you guys onto some new fragrances as well that you might have never even heard of before. But before I share with you guys my 12 favorite pickups of the month, drop a comment down below the fragrances you guys picked up for the month of May and what are some of your favorites, so we can all see what everybody's picking up. So the first fragrance we're going to be talking about is a very tacky bottle, I'm not going to lie, but it is Ralph Lauren's Polo Red Racing Edition, which did just recently come out. It is, I guess, a flanker of Polo Red, obviously, but it's very, very similar. Probably 95% similar, guys. I think it's basically Polo Red with added vanilla and lavender, but the vanilla and lavender is very, very faint. It's still gonna have that signature kind of cranberry fruity opening with, of course, that kind of toasted coffee bean note in the base. And to be honest with you, I've never really been the biggest fan of the Polo Red DNA, but I have to give it to Ralph Lauren for making a unique fragrance, especially at the time that it came out, because there's not many fragrances with cranberry and especially coffee, especially from designers. However, I think the pinch of the vanilla and lavender definitely make the DNA much more pleasant, especially for me, which is why Polo Red Racing Edition had to make the list. Even though I'm not blown away by it, it is pretty solid. Huh? To do what? Saying what? Favorite pickups of May? Here she comes now. I should have locked the door, trying to take over my video. You can't be Fragrance Hunter now. The next pickup is coming from a niche brand, which might be my new favorite cherry in my collection, and it is Mind Games French Defense. Boys, if you're a guy watching this and you want to get a good cherry fragrance because you think they mostly lean a little bit feminine, which they usually do, you have to check out French Defense because it has one of the darkest black cherry notes I've ever tried before. Very syrupy, almost boozy as well, but it dries down to this very warm, resinous amber that is a little bit earthy and smells extremely expensive. But I mean, this is a very expensive fragrance at the end of the day. I think retail is close to $400. But hey, if money's not an issue, you just want the best cherry fragrance that smells unique and masculine, French Defense is going to be one of the best bets to go for. This was one fragrance from Mind Games that was absolutely on my radar, so glad to have the bottle in the collection. There's some more that I need to get from them, like the new matte bottles. I think Prodigy and Mentor, I believe they're called. Which, who knows, maybe I'll get some of those down the line and they'll pop up in another favorite pickup video. But today, guys, it's all about French Defense, which is, like I said, one of the best cherries money can buy. That's exactly why this bad boy is in this video. Probably top 3 favorite Mind Games in my collection. The next fragrance I picked up is going to be for all my gourmand lovers out there that you probably never even heard of this fragrance. It is called Gleams Gelatino. Now, this honestly smells like an ice cream cone, like a waffle vanilla cone, guys. That's the exact vibe this gives off. You're gonna get the creamy, sweet vanilla mixed together with this kind of roasted waffle cone that is almost a little bit smoky, and just an absolute delight that is delicious, guys. This literally smells like a dessert rather than a fragrance, to be honest with you. One of the best photorealistic ice cream waffle cone fragrances money can buy. I've never smelled anything quite like this one, and also possibly a gourmand that you could wear in like the summertime because it does have that iciness from the ice cream, almost like it's melting. So if you love fragrances that smell delicious, smell edible, and just are a gourmand lover, you have to check out Gelatino because I think it's going to scratch the itch for you. And if you don't know, Gleam is a niche brand, of course. This is part of their new collection, and they are also sister companies to Gritty, which I think Gritty might be a little bit more popular. But still, Gelatino is pretty good, especially for a gourmand fragrance, which I'm not usually the biggest fan of. Next up is a TikTok hyped fragrance that actually might be one of my favorite pickups out of the 12 that I got in May, because this stuff is a banger. And it is Joe Milano's Game of Spades Wild Card, which you guys have probably heard of. Probably seen this bottle because, like I said, it's extremely hyping, just going viral right now. It is going to be very similar to Bond No. 9's Lafayette Street, which is probably one of the most popular fragrances from Bond No. 9. However, this smells very fruity from the green apple. You're also going to get some vanilla, some woodiness, some ambroxan, and a little bit of florals in the opening that kind of give it more of like an aromatic barbershop feel. And the performance with this fragrance, forget about it, guys. This is a beast mode performer, like absolutely too strong for its own good. But having a strong fragrance like this that's also a crowd-pleasing fragrance to the point where you can overspray the crap out of it and you're really not going to offend most people around you because it just smells too good to be offensive. And for the price you can get this for, guys, I know retail is like around 200 bucks, which makes it probably one of the most expensive inspired by houses because they mostly make inspired by fragrances from what I can tell. But the quality is top tier and niche, like, guys, without a doubt. And this can be bought for around like 40 to upwards to $80, which is insane for the kind of fragrance you're getting. And the atomizers behind these, one of the best atomizers in the business. And the bottles are as heavy as a PDM bottle. But with all that other stuff aside, guys, the scent profile is the main thing, and the scent profile is excellent. I honestly cannot recommend Game of Spades Wildcard enough, and that's exactly why I got it in May, and I'm so happy with it. The next fragrance is another one from Joe Milano that you could possibly pass up unless you like Santal 33, and it is Game of Spades Bid. This is going to be in the same realm as Louis Vuitton Lovers and Santal 33 by Le Labo, which I'm not honestly the biggest fan of either of those fragrances because they are known to have this heavy dose of sandalwood, which is kind of pickly. And despite this being similar in DNA, it might be a little bit better in my opinion. It kind of takes a more fresher route to those, but still honestly not the biggest fan of it. I might reach for it if I'm in the mood for that scent profile instead of those other two, just because it's a tad bit fresher and doesn't have the overdose of that pickly sandalwood. Even though it's still there, there's no way of getting around that. And the quality is of course top notch, what you kind of expect from Joe Milano. Just would highly recommend. Wildcard over Bid probably any day of the week, but still, if you like Santal 33 or Louis Vuitton Lovers, you may enjoy this. Still, of course, had to make an appearance on this list at the end of the day. Next up is a fragrance from Swiss Arabian, and it is Shoff Oud Elixir. So honestly, I'm a big fan of the original Shoff Oud. I believe I had my old bottle for probably over a year now. Big fan of the DNA. It's very sweet, rosy, and oudy, so it's like a sweet take on rose and oud. This, however, is the exact same as the original, just amped up like 10 times, guys. It's much more dense, much richer in scent profile. You almost get the spicy saffron, you get that earthy, slightly barnyardy oud, some of that floral rose, and also have this kind of sweet caramel note in the base. But it's exactly what an elixir flanker should be. It should take whatever it's a flanker of and just make it an elixir concentration, like way stronger, richer, more dense, and potent, and this does exactly that. So shout out to Swiss Arabian for making a true flanker with it. I will say though, there's not many reasons to get the original Shoff Oud with the elixir available unless the price difference is insane, because at the end of the day, this is just a better fragrance through and through, and that's why it absolutely had to make my favorite list. Next up is another Swiss Arabian and another flanker to Shoff Oud, and it is Shoff Oud Amar in this beautiful matte red and gold bottle. I love the aesthetic of this, probably the best looking bottle in the collection from them. However, though, the scent profile is going to be a much fruitier take on the Shoff Oud blend. You're going to get some peach, some melon thrown into the top, very tropical and fruity. And then, of course, it dries down to that signature Shoff Oud DNA from the spicy saffron, the earthy barnyardy oud, and of course, the sweet caramel. But to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of fruity oud fragrances because I just don't think they combine that well together. It's a very weird mixture of notes. But at the end of the day, it is a oud fragrance that you could possibly pull off in like the summer heat just because of how tropical it comes across, even though that would still be a very daring thing to try to pull off. It's going to be in the same realm as Gritty's Mango Oud, which I love Mango Oud, probably prefer that. Also, So Sparrow's Herba Oud, which is another very, very fruity, funky oud. So basically, this is going to be a fragrance not for everybody. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. It's very challenging and just a little bit strange of a mixture, but still pretty solid if I'm in the mood for a fruity oud because it captures that great. And that's another reason why this one had to make my favorite pickups of May because it is pretty different and good. Next up might be the most viral fragrance on this list today because it is Better World Fragrance House's Summer Mink, which is of course Drake's fragrance, guys. And this one Everybody's basically talking about it. It just came out this month at the time of this recording, or I guess last month in May. And you would know I picked this up during my vlog. We went to Ulta. I actually went to 2 Ultas to track down a bottle of it because, like I said, it was been selling out like crazy. Everybody's picking up a bottle of this stuff. And I will say it is very unique, very different, especially from a celebrity fragrance, guys. It doesn't really smell like any other fragrance I've ever tried before, which most of the time celebrity fragrances usually copy designers and niche, especially popular fragrances. This one's not that. It's going to open up very floral, slightly feminine. You're going to get this kind of pink starburst opening from the citruses and probably the rose, but the dry down is where it's at with Summer Mint, guys. You're just going to be left with this ultra musky base that's so dominant, very fluffy, very cloud-like and airy, and smells like you're wearing a mink furry coat, just like the name says. And it's kind of a shame though, because I know everybody's judging this fragrance based on the opening alone, like the first hour or so. Please don't do that, because after a couple hours, this fragrance becomes even better and much more masculine. It does open up feminine, but it dries down masculine. And I will say it might be the most addicting fragrance on this list and of the fragrances I picked up in May, because there's something about it that's so addicting and just makes me want to spray it. And I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I love the smell of pink starburst. So definitely glad to have a bottle of Summer Mink in the collection. Next up is another very hyped viral fragrance, man. I can't believe we actually picked up quite a few hyped up fragrances for the month of May. This one is Cutage Island, which is going crazy over on TikTok. If you're on TikTok at all, even if you go on TikTok for maybe an hour a week, you're gonna see this bottle pop up on your For You page, especially if you're in the fragrance community, without a doubt, because everybody's talking about it. It is inspired by Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Beau Les Parfums. If you don't know that fragrance, it's a very tropical, fruity pineapple, coconut fragrance that does dry down to this very kind of gourmand tonka bean. Now, this does open up very tropical and fruity. It kind of dries down, in my opinion, to something similar to Versace Eros, probably from the tonka bean. Very similar to Eros in the base, which I see nobody talk about. But if you're looking for that tropical summer fragrance that's not going to break the bank, because you can find these for a good $30 or so for the 100 ml, I got to give it that, guys. Probably one of the best bangs for your buck for the summertime, without a doubt. It's just a very fresh, tropical, and sexy scent profile. And I promise you, I'm going to be rocking this so much when it's hot outside, without a doubt. So that's why this beast had to make this list for my favorite pickups of May. Next up is another fragrance from Cutage, which is a little bit under the radar from the brand, especially because that Cutage Island is taking all the shine. However, this one I think most people should know about for sure, because it is Cutage Curris Blue Spice, which I'm hoping I'm pronouncing right. However, this is going to be inspired by Louis Vuitton's Imagination, which is great for me because I've honestly been looking for cheap versions of Imagination. The only one I own is Azure Fantasy. That's very expensive, from Orientica. And now we got Blue Spice, with, man, captures Imagination almost to a T. Probably roughly 85% similar to Imagination. If you want Imagination on a budget, you don't want to spend over $350 on a bottle of that, absolutely you can check out Blue Spice. And I think it will make you satisfied and be happy that you save a bunch of money. Of course, the quality, don't expect that to be the same, because LVs have very high quality ingredients. But if that's not an issue and you want to save, I guess, $300, you can go with this. And the performance is on par with Imagination, which Imagination is already a very good performer, especially for the scent profile. And if you know nothing about this scent profile, it's going to be this very kind of fresh tea fragrance with some spicy, uplifting ginger. I think there's some neroli thrown in there as well. Also, of course, some bright citruses, and obviously that Ambroxan base with Imagination and this. Yeah, I'm going to have to test these side by side and do a full review of Cutage Blue Spice, because this stuff is extremely good. Next up is another fragrance I picked up that completely took me by surprise, because I was not expecting it to smell like that, and it is Offnon's 9 PM Rebel, which is one of the newest fragrances from Offnon. This actually released alongside Supremacy Collector's Edition, which just came out a few months ago, and I found this at the rack stores. You guys would see that if you watch my vlog as well, but this stuff opens up like aventus, guys, which I was not expecting, especially looking at the bottle design and that it released alongside Collector's Edition, which also smells like aventus. However, though, there is a nice twist with 9 PM Rebel, because it opens up like aventus, but it dries down to Baccarat Rouge 540. So it's like, take those two combined together, you get 9 PM in a bottle right here. And I don't know about you guys, but aventus and Baccarat together works great. There's a couple fragrances that I have that are kind of a hybrid of those, and this might be one of the best takes on those two fragrances combined, to be honest. And the performance is excellent, kind of like what you expect from an Offnon fragrance. Very, very strong fragrances, without a doubt. So if you love aventus, you love Baccarat Rouge, maybe you own both of those fragrances and you don't want to keep kind of mixing them together and layering them, you can definitely just get a bottle of 9 PM Rebel, and it's going to smell exactly like that, and it will be very very affordable because I think you can get this for probably around 40 bucks or so. And you already know I'll leave all the fragrances I talk about tagged in the video where you guys can just check it out and get the best prices. But yeah, glad to have a bottle of 9 p.m. Rebel. So now I have 9 p.m., 9 a.m. Dive, 9 p.m. Rebel. The only one I'm missing is the original 9 a.m. I'm probably gonna have to get a bottle of that just to complete the collection, I guess. Still, probably one of my favorites within the 9 p.m. line without a doubt. And it kind of seems like Afnan is doing hybrid fragrances with this line because I think 9 a.m. Dive was a hybrid of Bleu de Chanel and Y. This one's a hybrid of Aventus and Baccarat, which just kind of popped in my mind, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, still solid fragrance to have in the collection. So my last favorite pickup of May also happens to be my scent of the day today, and it is Mugler's Amen Stellar, guys. The Amen line is back. I know they discontinued like pretty much all of their fragrances, but now they're bringing them back now. However, Stellar is of course a brand new flanker that just came out in the last couple of months at the time of this recording, and it's absolutely excellent, guys, especially for somebody that's not the biggest gourmand fan. This one I absolutely love because it opens up with this very nutty, kind of creamy pistachio note right away. Very heavy pistachio fragrance. I think it might be the only pistachio fragrance in my collection as well. I mean, I do also have Angel Stellar, which is a pistachio fragrance, but it's for women, which I think is kind of cool too, because all the pistachio fragrances that I know of are more women leaning. This one though is a masculine pistachio. And of course it does dry it down to this kind of coffee note that you are familiar with if you know any of the Amens. That's kind of what they're known for. Might be a little bit of this vanilla, but I will say it's a very unique DNA without a doubt, guys. Very, very different. It's just very enjoyable. Even if you love gourmands or you don't, I think you're going to enjoy Amen Stellar because I absolutely do. And like I said, I'm not usually the biggest fan of gourmands, but no, this is a very creamy pistachio. It's almost like a pistachio latte. Jeez, guys, I'm excited to see what Mugler starts coming out with because I know they came out with Amen Phantasm. I haven't tried that one. They came out with obviously this one now, and I'm excited to see what other flankers they release because I'm getting into the Mugler line. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of these bottles, these rubber bottles and the sprayers are kind of horrendous. Of course, that doesn't really matter. The scent is the main objective, and they absolutely pass that. So that's gonna do it for my favorite fragrance pickups of the month of May. Of course, let me know down below if you haven't already the fragrance you guys picked up during the month of May, and what are some of your favorites that maybe I should even check out. I know a lot of times you guys are buying fragrances that myself have never even heard of either, so I love getting recommendations from you guys because I know you guys know your stuff as well. So besides that, subscribe below if you haven't already. Also leave a like, and of course I'll see all of you back here in my next upload. Take care, everybody.